If you want or need a truck but don't necessarily want something quite as big as a half-ton, let's say a GMC Sierra 1500, Chevy Silverado 1500, or a Ford F-150, you can look at the mid-size truck segment. And we've talked about this recently on the channel in other videos, but it's really nice to see manufacturers finally paying attention to that segment, giving these trucks redesigns and giving them the love that they really deserve. This is Out Motorsports, the channel for cars as you are. My name is Jake, and this is the 2023 GMC Canyon AT4. Now, this is going to be a different video than I would typically post because I've actually already reviewed the new GMC Canyon. I drove the Canyon Denali and I drove the Canyon AT4X in Asheville, North Carolina when GMC first launched these trucks. Now, they sent me this one to do a towing test with, and unfortunately, no one involved, including myself, thought to check if there was a trailer hitch equipped on this truck, and there isn't one. So I said I would do something with it anyway. We'll have to come back to the towing portion of this at a later date because, as with every truck, if you want a trailer hitch, it costs between $500 and $1,000. In this case, it adds $815, and this one doesn't have it. So what we're gonna do is talk about what I like about this truck after living with it for a week in a city and urban type environment, and also some of the things I don't like. And then we're gonna get online and talk about how I'd spec mine, because this one, trailer hitch included, is not how I would build my GMC Canyon. So with all that, let's get into it. So the first thing I want to talk about that I really like about the GMC Canyon is the fact that GMC does some actual work to differentiate it from its Chevy Colorado sibling. These, like they've always been since the Canyon came around, and really like the GMC Sonoma and Chevy S10 of several decades prior, they've always been related to the Chevy Colorado, so they've had that sibling relationship, if you will. But in this case, GMC does do some actual things to differentiate this truck from the Colorado, and I really like how they've positioned it in the market to show you easily why you would pick the GMC over the Chevy. So where Chevy offers 3 different variations of the same 2.7 liter turbo 4-cylinder with different horsepower and torque outputs, in this case, GMC is only offering one option of those 3. So it's still a 2.7 turbo 4. On the Colorado, you will only find it in the Colorado ZR2 or some of the other trims if you pay to have the high performance tune put on the engine, basically. What GMC said is, nope, every single Canyon that we're selling, including the very basic elevation trim with no options on it, gets the 2.7 turbo high output, which means 310 horsepower, 430 pound-feet of torque, no matter which trim of Canyon you get. Love it. The other thing that they've done with this truck versus the Colorado, and it's not especially clear on their website, but they have given it a taller and wider stance versus the Chevy Colorado. And that's to say it will have at least 2 additional inches of ground clearance over a base model Colorado work truck, and it will have a little bit wider stance compared to a Colorado as well. Again, you can get that on a Colorado, but it's not on every Colorado. Every Canyon will have those things. The third thing that they've done that kind of separates it again from the Colorado is every Canyon comes with all-terrain tires. There are no highway tires that will come on any GMC Canyon being sold. So all of these things to say, GMC has said, we are going to set ourselves apart with this truck and make sure that even the most basic model is very capable. They do sell the most basic model of this. The trim level is called Elevation. They sell it as a 2-wheel drive truck, but if you get any other trim, if you get the AT4, the Denali, or the AT4X, they are all going to be 4-wheel drive, and the Elevation is also offered in 4-wheel drive too. So most of these are going to be sold as 4-wheel drive. Again, GMC is saying all of these are capability first. The tagline for this truck, they said, is the official truck of nowhere, which I think is both cute and kind of cheesy, but point being, they want to make sure that even if you get the most basic one, you can go off-road with it and probably be okay. Whereas if you buy a Chevy Colorado, some of those trucks are going to be much more street-oriented first and foremost. Moving back to the back of the Canyon, another thing I really love about it is the tailgate. It's a very clever tailgate. So to start, it's damped when you open it, which is pretty typical at this point, but GMC said, hey, there's some wasted space going on in the tailgate itself, so let's make a little storage cubby. So you can slide these 2 little levers out and then pop this guy up, and you've got a little storage space, and you can put things like jumper cables in here, any random tools, things you wouldn't want sliding around the bed or taking up space in the cabin. Now, the other piece of this that I love, which I was very curious about, this doesn't appear to lock. So, you know, the tailgate will lock with the doors, but if you have an open bed, my thought was, oh, someone can come up and just, you know, pop these two latches and get access to your stuff, so it's not really very secure. Well, wrong. There's a couple of tabs here. This is a brilliant little solution, but when this is shut and the tailgate is raised, these push up against the sides of the bed so no one can actually open this. So the tailgate must be lowered to actually access what is in here. So A, extra storage, very clever. I love a clever pickup truck because pickup trucks are pickup trucks. They're gonna be this forever. And the fact that it's secure means you can put whatever you want in here and not really worry about it. Moving to the inside of the 2023 GMC Canyon, I also just really like the inside of the 2023 GMC Canyon. This one is the AT4 with the premium package added onto it, so it's got leather seats that are ventilated, but the cabin itself is very nice. It feels like it's worth the money, and that is a good thing because these trucks, as with every new car, are not the cheapest thing in the world. This one is an AT4 with some stuff, but not all the stuff, and it's like $49,000. So if it's gonna be that kind of money, it needs to feel nice inside. The layout is very thought through. It feels luxurious, and I don't mean that in the sense of like, ooh, soft touch, because like, there's no soft touch, you know, where it doesn't matter. It's a truck. And I'm not one of those people that goes around rapping my knuckles on everything because it's frankly kind of idiotic, but everything is nice where it counts, and that's to say, you know, the layout of everything, the trims, the little, you know, finishes, that is all really great. The way the buttons click, the way the dials turn, all of that feels really nice. So that, again, I just really am a fan of. The fourth thing that I love about the GMC Canyon is how it is to drive. Now, I've reviewed these before, like I said. I will link to those videos up here and in the description below, but these trucks are very good to drive for being a truck. They're not clunky, they're easy to maneuver, they are chuckable, they are tossable, they are fun, they are relatively agile, honestly, for being soft, you know, on a soft suspension and with all-terrains, but they're fun to play with, and they're easy to drive somewhat quickly. Not like you're gonna do it much, but they are good at that. The final thing I like that I want to talk about that is very much drivability related is when it comes to off-roading. So you've got your drive mode selector here that has, you know, 4-wheel drive, 4 high, 4 low, and then your modes themselves. There is a mode called terrain in your various options, and when you enable terrain mode, the truck goes into 4 low, turns off all the nannies, but it also enables effectively one pedal driving, which is usually something you think of with electric cars and regenerative braking, but here GMC has got it set up so in that certain mode you can truly have a very dulled pedal, so you're not going to get jumpy throttle when you're off-roading and want to crawl over something, and then also when you need to slow down, just lift and it will automatically be applying the brakes and making everything very, very easy. I tried this out when I first drove this truck off-road a couple months ago. I tried it again at my friend's parents' farm the other day, and you know, just went through a little creek, and it just makes off-roading, if you're looking for very precise control, slow speed driving, it makes it so easy. It is a brilliant little software trick, and I love it. Now, I want to talk about a few things I don't love about this truck, and they're all also interior focused. So we're going to start with the shifter because I just touched it. The shifter is a traditional PRNDL sort of automatic shifter, and I talked about this with Tedward when I reviewed the new Chevy Colorado, which is the same truck. The throw of this shifter is very long, and I find it difficult to tell when I'm in drive versus neutral versus low. Reverse is easy, but then when you go neutral, drive, this feels like I've gone too far. If I'm just going park to drive, actually do it, this feels like it's gone one too far, and then you can still go one further into low that lets you pick your gears. So I just don't love the shifter. It's kind of a nit to pick, but these are all nits to pick because I frankly like this truck quite a bit. So shifter, not my favorite thing. Other thing that I'm going to nitpick and be a little more serious about is the lighting controls in this truck. This is not new news by now if you've been following these trucks since they were announced. They don't have a physical headlamp control in the cabin. They have a physical control over here by your knee for the brightness of the screens, like you would, you know, to dim your gauges sort of thing. The headlamp control is a soft button on the touchscreen, and it is a first layer button in that it's always visible, it's always displayed. However, I cannot tell you how unsafe I find this to be. I don't like touchscreens in general. I think they are an unsafe thing. That's a whole topic for another rant. But This is not okay to me. I use my headlight controls all the time. I'm probably in the minority, but if I'm towing, if it's at dusk, if it's raining, whatever, I want to know that my headlights are on and not rely on the automatic headlight setting. Most drivers are a little oblivious and are driving around with their lights off, so GM probably figured, hey, we can, make this a little easier, and if they can't find the headlight control, they'll never touch it, so they'll be on auto all the time. But for those of us who know what we're doing behind the wheel, it would be really great to have an easily accessible headlight control that's not tied into a touchscreen that, is hard to use while you're driving. Because this is all fine and good when you're parked like I am right now. If you're on the move, even with the best ride in the world, all of this is going to be jiggling a little bit. And I don't know what was so wrong about a simple rotary dial that they've done for decades. The third thing, speaking of drivability, there's a whole suite of driver assistance tech in the GMC Canyon, and a lot of it is very, very good. However, there is automatic emergency braking, as many new cars have, and it's got a little red LED bar, and it will beep and turn your music down, and it will pre-load the brakes, and eventually it will actually apply the brakes if the truck thinks it's going to run into whatever's in front of it because you're not taking enough action. Smart feature. It has saved me several times before if someone's cut me off or whatever, but this truck is very sensitive. If you change lanes and there's a car 2 car lengths ahead of you, it will set the system off to where it warns you and it beeps and it cuts your music off. It won't panic brake, but it will be very shouty at you. And I have not been able to figure out a way to turn down the sensitivity of it. That is something with most cars, you can pretty easily turn down the sensitivity, and in this case, I am having a hard time figuring that out. So I don't want to turn the system off because it has saved me before in other vehicles. I would like to have it here, but it's really sensitive in a city environment. On the highway, generally fine, but in the city, people cutting you off in a way that you're paying attention and everything's fine because we're all playing the game, it's very irritating in a city environment. And then the final thing that I just, this is kind of a personal preference sort of thing. I find the center console right here, it's a nice console. It's got your 4-wheel drive controller, your drive mode, wireless charging, all this. I find right here, it flares out just a little too much for my driving position, for my right leg. The more miles I've put on one of these, I feel like my leg is resting up against it just a little too often, and I don't love that. But that is obviously a personal preference thing. Go sit in one of these and feel it out for yourself before taking my exact word for it. Now with that, I want to talk about how I'd spec one of these Canyons because, like I said, this is not how I would do it, but I do really like these trucks in general. So let's head over to Ye Old Internet, which, if you're curious, is what you're watching this video on right now. Let's head over to gmc.com and see how I'd spec it. So here we are on the build and price tool for the 2023 GMC Canyon. Now right away, I'm going to move to the 4-wheel drive type, as they call it, because I'm kind of on GMC's side of things in that I think a pickup truck should have as much capability as possible, really. So I don't see the value in a 2-wheel drive truck, much like some people really do, because you get a little more payload out of them, but I want the 4-wheel drive. I'm also going to the AT4, despite saying, oh, the AT4 that they sent me isn't how I'd build it, because GMC does give you some more standard features. They also reduce the price of some of the other options you might want to add. So the AT4, when I was playing with this before recording for all of you, the AT4 kind of came out to be the better value in my mind versus an Elevation with some stuff. Now, would I like the Denali? Sure. I like all the extra little visual touches. You get some, better tech and better sound system, that sort of thing. However, the pricing I just can't really swallow when you get above 50 grand for something this size. So I'm sticking with the AT4 with some stuff on it. Now, moving to the exterior colors, I personally do not like black, white, gray, silver, or beige because I think the world needs more color. We need to have more fun and be more silly. So I would pick Solar Flare Metallic because I think yellow is fantastic. This is a fun yellow. I've seen all these colors in person between the Canyon and the Chevy Colorado, and they're all really nice, actually. Desert Sand is the color of my test truck that you've seen in the video. The red and the blue are very nice, but they're kind of predictable. And then Deep Bronze is also really neat. It's kind of a brown with a lot of olive green mixed in, but I like the bright and the weird, so I'm going with Solar Flare. Now moving on to the wheels. You've got an 18-inch as standard or a 20-inch as optional for 800 bucks. I'm keeping the 18-inch because I like having a little more sidewall. It helps with ride quality, and if you're going to go off-road, you want a little bit more sidewall versus having that more rubber band effect with a big wheel and a smaller tire. So, moving on, this is where we get into a little bit of preference. So you get the same sort of dash styling and all that, no matter whether you pick cloth or leather. I like the leather just because it's easier to clean. I think it's a little bit nicer. If this wouldn't be my daily driven truck, that would be something I would want. So I'm gonna go ahead and pick that. Now you can see this is gonna add a package that gives you wireless charging, a heated steering wheel, and rear park assist, and the Safety Plus package that gives you driver seat memory, blind zone steering, a rear center armrest, ventilated seats, blah, blah, blah. Basically what that is the premium package. It's 1,800 bucks. I think it's worth it, so I'm okay picking that. And then we're gonna move on and look at other packages. Now, this one here in the middle that you see is a featured package that my test truck doesn't have. This is $665. It gives you the integrated trailer brake controller and the in-vehicle trailering app. Now, I don't care so much about the second thing, but I care a lot about the first thing. Built-in trailer brake controllers are always a little bit better than using something that you wire in after the fact. So I want my truck to be able to tow, so I'm gonna add that. Now, you'll see here, you get this, but then you also add the trailering package. So you get a higher output alternator, and then you get the trailering package itself. So you get the receiver hitch, 4 and 7 pin wiring connectors, and that is $815 in total. Now scrolling down, I don't need more of a lift over the regular base model Colorado work truck. I don't need skid plates, I don't need a light bar, whatever. Now there are two different technology packages here. You've got Technology and Technology Plus. If we look at what's in the Tech Plus in particular, and just scroll right down here, you get adaptive cruise control, rear pedestrian alert, the surround vision cameras, a heads-up display. This stuff is all fine to me. However, I don't necessarily care about any of it, so I'm gonna actually skip all that. Do I like adaptive cruise control? Sure. Do I wanna spend the money on it? Not necessarily. I'm gonna move on to the options, and this is where with GM's build and price tool, things get really fun because they split everything up. If I shrink this, you've got all these different exterior, mechanical, and safety options, and then you can go to interior and have the same thing going on. So, for exterior options, I do love a good sunroof. I'm gonna go ahead and add that. And then they've got a spray-on bed liner for $475, and I think that's actually a good deal, so I'm gonna take that as well. I'm gonna skip the tonneau covers right now because I think there are other tonneau covers I would like to research before just picking the one that they will sell me, and then I don't really care about black badges or anything else like that. Take a look at mechanical options and just see if there's anything else I need in here. I don't need skid plates, I don't need an engine block heater, and I don't care about exhaust tips. Let's go up and look at the interior options now. Love some all-weather floor mats, I'll go ahead and take those. And then otherwise, the Bose premium sound, it would be a nice upgrade. Like I said, it's nice on the Denali, and the basic sound system on this truck is only fine, but I think I'm gonna skip it just to keep the price fairly reasonable. And I don't see anything else I necessarily want. The underbody cameras are really, really slick. Again, I've used those before when I was off-roading, and they're neat. But my focus with this truck is usually going to be more towing than off-roading, so I don't know if I'm going to spend the 500 bucks there either. If we look at safety options, again, it's more just things included in packages, and that is basically that. So basically where we're at here is I have ended up with a 2023 Canyon AT4 that is very, very similar in price to the model that GMC sent me to drive, but is better equipped for my needs. So this one came out to $50,170. And the test truck that GMC sent me was right about $49,200, give or take. So we're right in that same ballpark. I wanted to keep it right about $50,000 or less because when you get above $50,000, I tend to think that the better value is going to be found in a half-ton truck. In this case, it would be a Sierra 1500. But with this, I've got a really nice truck that's got leather, it's got plenty of tow tech, it's got all the capability I want, and this I think would be a very nice truck that would keep me happy for a while and do everything I needed while being a good size for city driving. And so that's what I like and what I don't like about the 2023 GMC Canyon AT4, and of course how I'd spec one if I were purchasing it myself. As always, thank you so much for coming along. Please be sure to like, share, comment, subscribe right here on YouTube. Give us a follow on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Out Motorsports. If you'd like to join an ever-growing community of LGBT automotive enthusiasts and motorsports competitors, head over to outmotorsports.com. We've got a whole group online that would love to be your new best friend, and we're hosting events in person around the country throughout the rest of 2023, and we're already planning things into 2024. Till next time, please stay safe, be well, see you again soon.